the day on Sunday, particularly where we see that cloud and rain persisting across eastern parts of the UK. So quite a cloudy and damp start to the day here, heavy and persistent rain as we go through the morning and into the afternoon, but across western parts of the UK, southwest parts of England, western parts of Wales, Northern Ireland as well, perhaps seeing a bit of a brighter start to the day, albeit with 1 or 2 showers in places. Western parts of Scotland seeing some bright skies through the morning as well, but in the east, plenty of showers still piling in from the north, these likely to turn to sleet and snow over any high ground. Those showers continue across northern and eastern parts of Scotland, but it's that heavy rain that we really need to keep an eye on across the southern and eastern parts of England, slowly pushing its way south and eastwards as we go through Sunday afternoon. It will still be a windy day quite widely across the UK, but those winds gradually starting to ease from the northwest as we go in towards the evening. And temperatures will still be around about average for the time of year, but definitely feeling chilly in that northerly breeze, particularly across the south and the east where we see that cloud and rain persisting. The cloud and rain gradually starts to ease across the southeast through Monday morning, so quite a chilly start, particularly across Northern Ireland and parts of Scotland. Some frost in places with light winds here. But for most of us, it'll be turning a bit drier as we go through Monday. Still 1 or 2 showers across the southeast, but turning a bit drier, and that's a theme for the rest of the week. High pressure building, but that does mean the temperatures are on the downturn by the time we get to Wednesday.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring. Not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, coming up on tonight's Saturday Night Showdown, the witch hunt against Greg Wallace is scraping the barrel with accusations this week that he made a joke about chefs doing cocaine and also got a sign language interpreter to do the sign for big boobs. Wow, He's truly history's greatest monster. But Greg has hit back. That's not Greg there. I don't know why we're seeing some scientists on the ground. Greg has hit back, claiming that he's autistic. No wonder he's obsessed with everyone getting the right number of G's in his name. And a German man stabbed and seriously injured by an Islamist has been convicted of criticising Islamism. I mean, come on, surely if there's anyone who should be allowed to question Islamic extremism, it's someone who almost got stabbed to death by an Islamic extremist. But thanks to ridiculous hate speech laws in Germany, it's illegal to complain, while imported jihadis stab you to death. And Britain isn't any better. This week, a man was convicted of hate speech after telling the truth. And remember when Israel's secret service, Mossad, infiltrated the supply chain for Hezbollah's pagers and planted explosives in them to do targeted assassinations? Well, according to some on the left, they've just done the same thing with Owen Jones. They've put something in his Gaviscon, according to left-wing pundit India Willoughby, who reckons Owen could be the subject of a targeted hit with poisoned heartburn medication. Yeah, no offence, Owen, but I think Mossad might have bigger fish to fry. This is your Saturday Night Showdown. And discussing all tonight's topics with me are my brilliant panel. Joining me tonight are dating expert Kezia Noble and the broadcaster and model Precious Muir. We'll have more from them in a moment, but first let's get your latest news headlines from Joe Casper.
Good evening, it's 2 minutes past 8. I'm Joe Casper in the GB Newsroom. Well, this evening, the Prince of Wales has met with US President-elect Donald Trump in Paris. William had travelled to France earlier today for the ceremonial reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral following a fire in 2019. Mr Trump gave William a pat on the shoulder before the two shook hands and spoke for a few seconds. William was greeted in the rainy French capital by President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte. His plans were disrupted by Storm Darragh. He had originally been scheduled to meet Mr Trump before the cathedral event. He's expected to discuss further the US-UK relationship with Mr Trump and Jill Biden. Ex-owner Elon Musk is among the high-profile names from around the world, including Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and former French Presidents François Hollande and Nicolas Sarkozy. Earlier this afternoon, Mr Trump and Mr Macron had met. The French president greeted the US president-elect on the steps of the Élysée Palace, and the pair shook hands and posed for pictures. Shortly after, they met with Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, for trilateral talks. Mr Zelensky said he had a good and productive meeting with the pair. Well, Mr Trump and Mr Macron addressed reporters earlier this afternoon. Here's what the US president-elect had to say.
A great honor. And we had a great relationship, as everyone knows. We accomplished a lot together. And the people of France are spectacular. I guess it's one of our largest groups in the United States, French people. And we respect them and we love them. Very talented people, extremely energetic people, as you know very well. Yeah. And it's an honor to be here. We had a good time together, and we had a lot of success, really great success working together on defense and offense too. And it certainly seems like the world is going a little crazy right now, and we'll be talking about that. Thank you very much for being here.
Well, the ceremony going on right now has been hosted by Mr Macron. It features the opening of this cathedral's huge doors, its organ, consisting of 8,000 pipes being replayed, and the first Mass since its restoration. Already this evening, there have been a minute's applause for firefighters, with the word merci projected onto the building to thank those who saved it from the fire. Hymns have also been sung this evening, and Mr Macron said in a speech that he thanked the Brotherhood for helping the 5-year rebuild, adding Brotherhood from all continents, from all religions, from all walks of life, all united in hope. An investigation is underway after a man died when a tree fell onto his van during Storm Darragh in Lancashire. Emergency services were called at around 9 a.m. this morning near to Lancashire Police headquarters where the incident happened. He was pronounced dead at the scene. His family have been informed and are being supported by a specially trained officer. A major incident has been declared in parts of Wales because of disruption from Storm Dara. Dyfed-Powys police said it was continuing to experience high volumes of calls from about fallen trees and poor driving conditions. The storm, which hit the UK overnight, has brought heavy rain and winds of up to 93 miles an hour, causing widespread disruption. In Northern Ireland, authorities have warned people to take only essential travel. Passengers at some of the UK's biggest airports have also described harrowing landings as air traffic restrictions are in place. Our Scotland reporter Tony Maguire has been at Glasgow Airport for us today.
As Storm Dara continues to wreak havoc across the country, Scotland has made it through Friday night relatively unscathed. The Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, SEPA, well, they've got flood warnings for essentially all parts of the country, but only 2 have been escalated to flood alerts, and that is in Tayside as well as South Ayrshire. That amber warning that stretches across the northwest of England, well, that also leaks into Dumfries and Galloway, with residents there told to stay inside until the bad weather dies off.
West Ham footballer Mikel Antonio is in a stable condition after he was involved in a road traffic accident in Essex, his Premier League club has said. In a statement, the club said Mikel is conscious and communicating and is currently under close supervision at a central London hospital. At this difficult time, we kindly ask everyone to respect the privacy of Mikel and his family. The club will make no further comment this evening, but will issue a further update in due course. Those are your latest GB News headlines. I'm Joe Casper. Now back to Leo.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Joe, and welcome to the Saturday Night Showdown. Now, the latest horrific behaviour from Greg Wallace was revealed this week as one of his accusers revealed in an article. There was a British Sign Language interpreter there, and he wandered over to her at one point and just said, "Do you have to sign everything I say?" And she said yes. And then he just started saying, "big boobs, sexy bum," this sort of thing, in order to get her to sign it. It was like he could control her, I suppose, said the woman, a professional in the cultural sector. I think he might have just been having a laugh rather than trying to use his power to get a woman to embarrass herself. That's just the same sort of joke that all comedians do, all TV presenters do, whenever there's a sign language interpreter. The Sun newspaper also ran a front page story with one of Greg's alleged victims. I'll read from it. She also claims that Wallace joked another female contestant had cocaine on her nose. She added, when she said it was flour, he replied, "It should be cocaine, or you'll never make it as a chef." I think he was just trying to show off, but I felt that was inappropriate too. Oh, he made a joke about chefs doing cocaine. The monster! His ghostwriter came forward to say that she'd been for meals with Greg and he made crude sexual advances over dinner.
So this is what Greg Wallace said to me in a restaurant. "If you won't let me sleep with you, would you lick my arse?" And after rejecting his advances, he said I should keep an open mind and he'd keep his knob clean next time. When I was out eating dinner with him one day, I had eaten mess for dessert. And while I was eating this, he suddenly asked me, "What would you think if I put some of the eaten mess you're eating on my willy then?"
I'd just like to apologise for some of the language there, but so what, a man's not allowed to seduce a woman over dinner anymore? And being a ghostwriter is the worst job in the world. I would have been looking for an excuse to quit. There's a lot of talk in the media about how the women were ignored because Greg had power and they didn't. The women weren't ignored because of a power imbalance. The women are only being listened to because they have power. The girls who weren't listened to were the victims of grooming gangs. An impolite comment to a middle-aged woman is treated by the chattering classes as if it's the crime of the century. But the horrific crimes of grooming gangs are studiously ignored by the same people. Greg has now spoken out to blame his behaviour on his autism. This is a smooth move from Greg. He should have come out as trans, I reckon, though, because then all these middle-class accusers would be terrified of appearing transphobic if they said they felt sexually threatened by a transgender woman, Greg Wallace. But the autism thing also works. Now, I'm joined tonight by dating expert Kezia Noble and the broadcaster and model Precious Muir. Now, I'm sure you'll both agree, as attractive women, that men exploiting a position of power to make aggressive sexualised remarks in a workplace is always welcome, and women love it.
I think I'm not the one to. I'm not going to find this at all funny. I'm laughing now, but this is actually not. It's not a funny situation.
Even when he said,
it really
would you
isn't.
like my...
No, because he's taken advantage of his position. Obviously, he is a man of power in this role that he's in, and it doesn't matter if they're young or old. The fact is that it was an uncomfortable situation that he continuously put various women in, and everybody knows there is obviously humour with some people that you can really get away with, and there's humour where you just don't cross the line, especially at work. I feel like there's people that that you can have this banter with, and it will come back and forth. You and I will have a little bit of a laugh, but then there'll be somebody else that you can't have that humour with because they will take it very seriously. And I think that it's important to know, as a person of power, where the line is.
But I've heard this a lot, that Greg's abusing his power and it's a workplace, but it's not a real workplace. I mean, it's TV, that's not a real job.
Oh my God.
Why didn't the women at the time just put him in his place like I would have?
Yeah.
If someone says something offensive to me, I give them one chance. I say, do that again, and you cross the line.
Yeah.
Why are they were so disturbed by what he said, so disturbed. And he kept it in for how many years? 5, 6 years?
12 years, I think.
Give me a break.
No,
give me a break. I understand what it's like to be a victim. This is not being a victim.
But some women don't want to speak up because obviously they're in a position, a role that he could actually, eliminate completely.
Yeah, but I mean...
So it's like, it's a fear of losing your job. So it's like...
no, one of them was a contestant on the cooking programme. She would not have lost her position.
Well, I mean, obviously the ghostwriter would have lost her position if she had spoken.
No, I think if she'd have gone and said, this is what he said to me, there's a strong possibility that they would have taken her side, because it's a publishing company. I'm a published author. I know that there are strict protocols.
That because of who he is and how loved he is on television, they would have taken his side and said, well, no, we're not going to drop him as an author.
There's a chance of that.
There's a big chance of that, and it's really quite scary in having to juggle that situation.
It's not scary.
It is scary.
No, it's not.
It is scary because you don't know the repercussions of what you're going to say is going to actually happen to you in your life, your career. I mean, who knows what else could happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really follow that. I mean, I hear it was said a lot during Savile. These people were in management positions at the BBC and said, we couldn't do anything
but
because
what about the towel
we couldn't do anything because it would have threatened our jobs. It's like, it's not even that great a job. Just quit your job. If someone was
making me if I was that disturbed as these women are, I could not have carried on with that job. I'd have just been like, sorry, I'm out of here. You disgust me. I'm going.
We don't know why they continued on in a position, because if anybody dropped their towel in front of me and shook himself in front of me, I would have been absolutely disgusted, and I would never have written for him ever again.
It's why my towel is very fast and
I would have left. Yes, it's like a handbook. It's like Harvey Weinstein did the same thing. It's like
no, he didn't.
Giving them out at this bookstore or something. I don't know.
But don't you think that men are we're getting told the message that men don't approach women anymore, and women want to be approached, and then as soon as Greg steps up to the plate and says, "Would you like to lick my?" I can't say the word.
I just don't think it's an appropriate thing to ask.
It's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. You're right. It's not appropriate, but it's not disturbing either. This person's not scarred emotionally for the rest of their life. And if they are,
talk on behalf of somebody else's emotions.
I just think women need to man up then.
But maybe she doesn't. Maybe this is not something she's regularly dealing with. So this is something new to her. Not every woman has men attracted to them and obviously pursuing them in this way. So it's come out of the blue for her that this man is exposing himself in front of her, and she's also working for him. It's a very uncomfortable situation to be in. And some women aren't strong enough, like yourself, like myself, who can control the situation and handle it at the time. Everybody deals with things very
I just think
differently.
the word disturbed just gets used a bit too much. It was banter. He didn't try and rape her or something like that. You can't compare him to Harvey Weinstein.
But they have
and that's
the
the
same
problem.
little moves because both of them did
Not
the
really.
situation,
I think
exposing
one
themselves in front of the victim.
No, we've got to be careful here because one is like unpleasant banter, and actually some women it probably worked on them because he's a celebrity. They probably liked it and they were getting attention from a celebrity. And some women it doesn't work on, and it does take women to turn around and say, hey, knock it off. OK? Women are so like, they say, I'm so liberated now, I'm a strong woman. Speak up then.
And of course, I've got to point out that the allegations against Greg have been denied. Well, I think some of them he's admitted to. He said is autism. I mean, do you think it's a good excuse to say?
No, it's not. It's not an excuse.
This autism thing. Don't get me started on it. Don't get me started.
No, but I remember I was very grossly offensive, and it was because of my hay fever. So I think it can happen, but also, I mean, like we've sort of had the modern woman who says she can do everything a man can do and can go into a man's world, and now it feels like we're rolling back the years and we need to enforce some sort of Victorian code of chivalry to protect women's feelings from men like Greg.
I don't want to go back to Victorian times. Please don't.
It's also, I mean, would it be okay if the woman was talking to a man like this? How appropriate at work would that be?
They would love it, men.
Yeah,
they would love it.
Can I see a picture first? I think a lot of this. I think if Brad Pitt was all like, "Hey, would you like to?"
Have you noticed there's been no claims against Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt? How funny! How funny!
It's like that meme. You know what's acceptable?
Pick and choose, isn't it?
For HR, it's if you're attracted to the person, then sometimes somebody being very sexually forward can be a good thing.
For sure.
I don't agree, guys. No, I think it's inappropriate. It's at work.
It is inappropriate.
And those women weren't getting the banter. They weren't feeling the vibe, so it was inappropriate at the time. And he should have got that from the first. Obviously her not reacting as such. So you got to let it go.
How did she react? She just sat there silent. It sounds.
I just think it's very uncomfortable for somebody.
But I mean, at least he's handled it very well by coming out and calling them all middle-aged. Anyway, moving on. A German man stabbed by an Islamist has been convicted of criticising Islamism. In May this year, Michael Sturzenberger was attacked by a knife-wielding Islamist at a rally organised by Sturzenberger's campaign group Pax Europa in the German town of Mannheim. The video of the event caused shock around the world as the attacker, a Muslim refugee from Afghanistan, stabbed Sturzenberger in the face and leg and attacked 5 other people, including a policeman who tragically was killed. Some people put the blame for the attack directly on Sturzenberg himself. The left-wing newspaper Taz said that Michael Sturzenberger has been agitating against Islam for years now. He's been seriously injured by a knife attacker. And now the authorities are also punishing him, Sturzenberger, for his stance on Islamism. Although some might say that the fact he's been stabbed by an Islamist would suggest that his criticism of Islamism as sowing violence in the West kind of has a point. 6 months on from the brutal attack, his criticism of Islamism has landed him with a conviction for incitement to hatred and a fine by a Hamburg court. In the West, it seems it's illegal to complain while imported jihadis stab you to death. I mean, thank God we have hate speech laws to protect the feelings of Islamists while they stab Europeans. Now, what do you make of this case, Precious?
I remember you and I, we had this conversation on the show when it actually happened, and I feel like it's a horrific incident because imagine that you actually have been stabbed and now you've been fined and you don't seem to be getting justice. Let's take away from the subject matter.
Yeah.
You have been physically assaulted and now you're the person who has been convicted and fined.
Yeah.
I don't know where the justice is.
And I feel like there should be some leeway. If you've been the victim of, violent Islamic extremism, you should be allowed to say, I didn't like that. That wasn't very fun. I didn't like the bit where I was stabbed in my face.
What they are saying is that he brought it on himself, meaning that he was saying this for multiple times beforehand,
so
and that's why he was stabbed.
The media have said
that's what they're saying. I don't agree with it.
Blamed him for the attack.
It's a topsy-turvy world.
It really is, and we've seen this in Germany, which is actually even stricter hate speech laws than the UK. Like there's another case where a young woman, I think she was 22, got jail time because she criticised gang rapists.
That's correct.
How dare she criticise gang rapists?
And she got a longer jail sentence than the actual rapists themselves.
Amazing.
That was right, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, Europe, they're letting more and more of these people in, so this is just the beginning.
Yeah, and
this is just the beginning, and I don't know. I can't work it out. Like, why the justice system is so on the side of these refugees who are showing their gratitude by stabbing people.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. There's something not right here.
Yeah, no.
Fill in the blanks. You know, let's connect the dots a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, coming up, we will assess the week's winners and losers. This week, we've got the town that's been fined under human rights laws for not flying the pride flag. And did Mossad poison Owen Jones by tampering with his Gaviscon? Find out in a moment.
Do I have time to just...
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Osama bin Laden issued a fatwa entitled World Front for Combat Against Jews and Crusaders, and President George W. Bush talked of a crusade on terrorism. In 2010, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula sent a parcel bomb to New York. It was addressed to Reginald of Chatillon. The addressee had died at the hands of Saladin in 1187. Those facts suggest that the long history of struggle between Christendom and Islamic caliphates remains relevant, at least to some militant Islamists. That being the case, perhaps we should all understand the past. General Sir Simon Mayle, a former Deputy Chief of the Defence Staff Operations, can be our teacher, particularly if we want to know in gory detail about battles to control Jerusalem, Constantinople, Vienna and the Eastern Mediterranean. His new book is called The House of War. It's an excellent read, which perhaps ought to figure in a national adult curriculum. And he joins me. But let's begin with the word crusade. What was it that drove Christians around Europe to want to cross to the Holy Land and seize Jerusalem?
Context and timing is really important to understand. It's been rather stereotyped as Christian aggression against peace-loving Muslims. The Islamic religion had burst out of the desert in the 7th century with the death of the Prophet Muhammad, and for the next nearly 400 years had Christianity, Christendom, the Christian states absolutely on the back foot. It took the Holy Land, destroyed the Persian Empire, took the North Africa, which was Christian at the time, including Egypt, of course, took Spain all the way into Tours, Charles Martel. 100 years after the death of the Prophet, it expanded in an extraordinary state.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's important to get these things right
All
now.
right.
Welcome back to the Saturday Night Showdown. It's now time to go through the winners and losers of the week. Has there been an attempted assassination of a high-profile left-wing activist this week? Guardian journalist Owen Jones complained of heartburn a few days ago, which led to a very sane and believable conspiracy theory. Owen posted on social media on Thursday saying he felt like he had heartburn when he ate, so he started taking Gaviscon, but then felt worse and worse. I'm going to guess it's par for the course, being a vegan. But fellow left-wing activist India Willoughby replied saying, "I'm being absolutely serious here. Is there a possibility that you've been poisoned because of your coverage of Israel?" Yes, remember Mossad infiltrated the supply chain for Hezbollah's pagers and planted explosives in them? They've just done the same thing with Owen Jones's Gaviscon. Now, I'd maybe say that polarisation of politics and echo chambers sort of breeds this paranoia that people do think that, you know, the deep state could be after them, even though they're not really interesting enough for the deep state to be after them. I mean, I think there's pretty much zero chance that Mossad are conducting a hit on UK soil using Owen Jones's Gaviscon.
And it's such a shame that they're not. It's nice, actually, that Owen Jones is actually talking about something that isn't related to Jews and Israel. It's quite like, you know, he's talking about Gaviscon now. I know it's kind of Jew-related, but it's nice that he's, you know, taking a break from just talking about Gaza because, you know, there might be other things in the world that are happening that are also pretty bad.
Although it's nice of India Willoughby to steer the conversation immediately back
to
onto
Jews.
Israel.
Come on, let's get back onto them.
Now, Precious, you seem like the sort of person who might want to assassinate someone. How would you do it?
Why do I look like the kind of person they would see? I am kind of looking like a spy today, so yeah, I look very cute. But no, to be honest, I would be slightly concerned. Obviously, if he's putting a lot of stuff out there that could be making him a victim of something, I don't know. I don't think it would be in his medication, but just be more aware of what he's doing as he's going somewhere or something. Maybe that's something more of a concern to me. But actually targeting his medication, they would have to go to Boots to get that and pop it in Boots. I don't know how he figured that out, but as long as he's okay.
But assassinations seem to be making a comeback, and there's the CEO of the healthcare.
I know, but that was a real assassination.
Oh yeah, the guy's
that
dead.
was like a legitimate person who's been, like, obviously, you know, told to do that.
Yeah, and the assassin's still at large.
Yes,
he escaped on foot, and then
but he's getting a lot of support.
That's
From boomers.
Yeah, and
so if you go on Facebook, they're like, oh, you know, the CEO died, please, we're praying for his family. Yeah. And you've got all these boomers, not like left-wing activists, boomers going, good.
And when you say boomer, you mean somebody who was born in the 40s rather than
well,
an Islamic extremist, a suicide bomber.
Well, you can understand the reason. I don't know if obviously you guys are fully aware, but living there, the healthcare situation was dire.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Was dire.
Yeah.
Okay, so
still better than the NHS.
No, it's not.
But
a lot of copay alone is.
I think we pay just as much for the NHS now as if we went private, though. I mean, I look at my tax bill and I'm like, where's that going?
It's really dire. So I understand, obviously, the reaction to it. Some people are going to say negative stuff because of the situation that they're going through for their healthcare. Yeah. They go to the hospital, and the first thing they're asking for is your health card, is your insurance card.
Yeah, and some of the health insurers are cutting off claims, and they're using
and if you can't afford the full
AI
procedure, you're having to get half a leg done. Like, it's a lot of stuff.
I heard this story that they saved this kid from a car or something, and they put like a little teddy bear to like keep him like happy and calm, and then they put that on the bill at the end.
So it was like
the teddy bear.
$5,000 for a teddy bear.
Yeah, something like that.
Bargain. It's shocking, the price of healthcare there.
Anyway, moving on, a tiny Canadian town and its mayor have been fined for not flying the pride flag, even though they don't actually have an official flagpole to fly it on. The town of Emo in Ontario, which has a population of just 1,300 people, was ruled to have violated the Ontario Human Rights Code when it refused to declare June as Pride Month and didn't plaster every public space with pride flags. An organisation called Borderland Pride, which describes itself as a 2SL GBTQIA plus pride organisation. That acronym is just getting longer and longer. Well, they brought an official complaint before the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario. Shortly after the town representatives voted not to fly the flag, Town Mayor Harold McQuaker said, "There's no flag being flown for the other side of the coin. There's no flags being flown for the straight people." The Human Rights Tribunal found that the remark was demeaning and disparaging and therefore constituted discrimination under the Human Rights Code. Given that Mr McQuaker made the comment shortly before voting against the proposal, it was decided that his vote therefore also constituted discrimination under the code. The town of Emo has been ordered to pay Borderland Pride $10,000, and the mayor, Mr McQuaker, has to pay them $5,000. This is a bit less than the group wanted. They wanted 15 grand from the town and 10 grand from each of the councillors who voted against their proposition. In April this year, Borderland Pride told the town that they could avoid a costly legal battle If they agreed to the terms of its financial settlement, they offered to return a third of the reward to the Emo Public Library on the condition that the money was spent hosting a drag time story hour event for children. The officials have been ordered to complete human rights training. Mr McQuaker and the town's chief administrative officer have also been ordered to complete a Human Rights 101 course and to provide proof of completion within 30 days. The course, which is provided by the Ontario Human Rights Commission, tells attendees that it doesn't matter if you didn't intend to discriminate, it's the impact on the person that matters. Pride is now controversial. It used to be for lesbian, gay and bisexual people, the original LGB, but as the 2SLGBTQIA+ acronym shows, it now celebrates everything from transitioning children to straight people's fetishes. And sometimes these elements can clash. There were lesbians thrown off a pride march in Cardiff at the request of transgender marchers. And pride is supposed to be about freedom, the freedom to have relationships with whoever you want and live your life however you want. The people who voted not to celebrate Pride weren't taking that freedom away. Freedom should also include the freedom not to have a pride flag if you don't want to fly one. Forcing people to celebrate something or face fines or imprisonment is like Kim Jong-un's birthday party. And it reminds me of the old Dave Allen joke where he said he was leaving before it became mandatory. And this isn't the first time a Canadian town has been fined for failing to bow to the cult of pride. In 1995, Bob Morrow, the mayor of Hamilton in Ontario, was fined $5,000 for refusing to proclaim Gay Pride Week. The same year, London, Ontario, was fined $10,000 for refusing to officially recognise Pride Weekend. I've got to point out, that sounds like a lot of money, but it's Canadian dollars, so it's about 70 quid. But do you think this is the right call to fine people and, you know, threaten people with, I guess, ultimately imprisonment if they don't celebrate Pride?
No, I mean, I'm somebody, actually, a lot of people don't realise this, but I'm a great supporter of Pride, and I personally don't find the flag offensive at all. I don't fly it, but, you know, if it's there, it's, like, good for them. But I do know that a lot of people, they do, it's in conflict with their religious beliefs, and it's something that I do have to respect their point of view also.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're being coerced to do something, coerced to fly a flag.
I mean, I'm a bisexual woman. I've always been open about my sexuality, so I am part of the LGBTQ community. But what I must say is I don't like the form of manipulation and blackmail. So they're basically saying, do this, you'll basically get this back if you do this drag queen library situation for children. Yeah. I do not agree with that, and I've stood by this from the beginning. I do not believe that drag queens should be doing certain book reading in the outfits that they're doing and the things that's happening in the library to small children.
Yeah,
I think
can I ask you something?
Don't need to see.
Can I ask you something? As a bisexual woman, do you feel that it's been hijacked by the trans movement and it's more about trans now, or do you feel like...
I do believe that we're kind of losing the message, because it is kind of overtaking everybody else's, you know, right for freedom, and, you know, it does seem to me like it is overwhelming now about the trans movement, and it's not so much about everybody else when it's supposed to be unity. We're supposed to all be collectively having a freedom.
And why is that?
Why is sexuality, like homosexuality, bisexuality, that's a real thing. That's, you know, it's based on what you do. Whereas identifying, that's getting into a whole different, that's a completely separate
it's a completely different thing, because then obviously also who are they attracted to? Is it men or female? So it starts to get a little different. And I do find that is definitely a different situation. I respect them wholeheartedly because I don't want anything to happen to them, and I've always said that. But at the end of the day, as a bisexual woman, it is nice to have the community come together. And if this small town doesn't want to fly the flag, that's fine. Yeah. If individual properties, houses, shops want to allow the flag to be flown, then that's something totally different.
Yes.
It's a choice. But you should not make it mandatory, because some people don't choose to participate. And that is a fair reason for them not to be fined. I don't understand why a town is being fined.
And then the next civil rights movement will be people fighting for the freedom to fly the flags that they want. Anyway, next on the Saturday Night Showdown, one of the BBC's Women of the Year is a male scientist who says palm trees can be trans. And we've got more sinister indoctrination of school kids paid for by us. See you in a moment.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Dara continues to bring some very wet and very windy weather as we go through the rest of Saturday and into Sunday, with weather warnings still in force quite widely across the UK. Storm Dara moves its way south and eastwards away from the UK, but that squeeze in the isobars across western areas still indicates those strong winds we're likely to see. Gusts here of 60, perhaps 70 miles an hour as we go through Saturday night and into Sunday. And plenty of heavy rain across eastern parts of England too, and southern parts of Scotland could see that persistent rain into the early hours of Sunday morning. Quite a chilly night to come, though, temperatures likely to stay above zero, but with that northerly breeze it will be a really chilly start to the day on Sunday, particularly where we see that cloud and rain persisting across eastern parts of the UK. So quite a cloudy and damp start to the day here, heavy and persistent rain as we go through the morning and into the afternoon, but across western parts of the UK, southwest parts of England, western parts of Wales, Northern Ireland as well, perhaps seeing a bit of a brighter start to the day, albeit with 1 or 2 showers in places. Western parts of Scotland seeing some bright skies through the morning as well, but in the east, plenty of showers still piling in from the north, these likely to turn to sleet and snow over any high ground. Those showers continue across northern and eastern parts of Scotland, but it's that heavy rain that we really need to keep an eye on across the southern and eastern parts of England, slowly pushing its way south and eastwards as we go through Sunday afternoon. It will still be a windy day quite widely across the UK, but those winds gradually starting to ease from the northwest as we go in towards the evening. And temperatures will still be around about average for the time of year, but definitely feeling chilly in that northerly breeze, particularly across the south and the east where we see that cloud and rain persisting. The cloud and rain gradually starts to ease across the southeast through Monday morning, so quite a chilly start, particularly across Northern Ireland and parts of Scotland. Some frost in places with light winds here. But for most of us, it'll be turning a bit drier as we go through Monday. Still 1 or 2 showers across the southeast, but turning a bit drier, and that's a theme for the rest of the week. High pressure building, but that does mean the temperatures are on the downturn by the time we get to Wednesday.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Different economies on different currency. The BBC sparked fury this week when their annual list of the 100 most inspiring women included a trans woman called Brigitte. No, this isn't Brigitte Macron, that's a conspiracy theory. This is Colombian scientist Brigitte Baptiste, pictured here taking a break from appearing in a painting in Ghostbusters 2. Brigitte chose her name, yeah, she's a her, you bigot, from French sex symbol Brigitte Bardot, although sadly she didn't take Bardot's exfoliation routine as well. According to the BBC, Ms. Baptiste uses a queer lens to analyse landscapes and species in a bid to expand the notion of nature to better protect ecosystems. Ms. Baptiste has pushed the idea of transgenderism in biology, reporting that a transsexual palm tree had been discovered. This definitely happened and definitely isn't an example of ideologists projecting their cult-like beliefs onto plants and inanimate objects, which don't even have a sense of self, so aren't capable of identifying as anything. There are some biological women in the BBC's list as well. Ugh, so old-fashioned. Should just be women like me. Now, this comes just a week after the BBC was also criticised for crowning Zambian player Barbara Banda as Women's Footballer of the Year, despite the sports star having been dropped from a football tournament for allegedly failing to meet sex eligibility rules. Now we've got 2 of the old style of women on the panel. How do you feel about this?
Oh my I personally, I've said this before, I believe that they should have their own category, and I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. There should be male, female and transgender. There is enough of them now in the community where they can have their own category in multiple different things. If it's sports, if it's, you know, transgender woman of the year, all of those categories, they deserve their own space. I don't understand why it's so difficult to give them their own space instead of trying to put them in a space that already exists, and so many women have, you know, fought to be there. And I feel like it's kind of disheartening because some transgender women that I know also agree. So there's only a handful of people that, well, obviously the ones that are accepting awards, but there's a handful of people that are saying, well, hey, you know, I agree with women. They're right. We are, you know, we do have something extra that may give us the upper hand in a situation in regards to strength and so forth. So it isn't fair to compete with them. There are transgender women out there who agree with us.
Yeah, no,
I think transgender can, they can compete in snooker, darts. There's certain things, golf, that they can compete in.
I just think anything that's
against women, certain sports, and I literally meant golf, darts, absolutely not. You know what was interesting though? This thing about this photography or something she's doing through the lens of I don't know what it was. I got a bit, but I had
it's not photography. It's just,
I had a dog.
Academia. Just looking at things.
I had a gay dog.
You had a gay dog?
I had a gay. She was a lesbian.
Right.
She used to, you know, mount other male and female, other male dogs and cats.
So she wasn't a lesbian then, if she mounted male?
No, you're right. What was she then?
So she was...
That's a trans. No, she would mount them.
She would mount them. She
would get into
dominant female.
She was just a strong, empowered.
She thought she had a penis. She thought she had a penis. It was a phantom penis she had.
Maybe she just was like, you know, I'm going to be the dominant one in the relationship, but she's still straight.
Okay.
This is a confusion where it gets all messy, doesn't it? The end of the day, transgenders deserve their own category where they compete against each other and actually have contact sports.
When
it comes to contact sports, women should not be competing. We're not competing against
Moving on, Keir might be changing his tune on immigration, but British school children are being handed propaganda in schools. A book called Lift the Flap, Questions and Answers about Refugees, says there are so many positives to the arrival of refugees who fill gaps in the labour market, and the book claims it's cheaper to recruit foreign doctors than train British medical staff. Yeah, that's what I want to hear before I go into surgery. You're going to love this doctor. He's from Liberia, and he's so cheap. I mean, let's hope he gets the right kidney. It also tells readers that we all have roots in other countries, which is nonsense. I mean, how come someone who comes to Britain has to be accepted as authentically British after about 2 weeks, but someone whose ancestors arrived in Britain 950,000 years ago still has roots in other countries? One of the pages is titled Refugees Welcome and shows a crowd with placards stating, "Our home is your home and bridges not borders." I wonder how many people working at this charity extend these principles to their own lives and have no borders on their homes and leave their door open at night. There's no such thing as burglars, just undocumented housemates. The book also has a classroom activity ordering children to write to politicians to ask for more refugees to be allowed into Britain because they enrich our country. This book and learning materials were created in partnership with the British Refugee Council, a charity that helps people use the asylum system to settle in Britain as refugees. And this British Refugee Council received £7.5 million, so that's half of its funding, from the government in 2022. Why is the government paying a charity to lobby its politicians? And this all happened under a supposedly conservative government as well, which was frequently criticised by the charity they were funding, showing the absolute uselessness of modern conservatives. They literally pay organisations millions to go against their policies and hate them. And if it was that bad under a supposedly conservative government, it's going to go absolutely mental now. We've got a lefty Labour government that's actually aligned with the charity. I mean, this seems crazy. They've got a charity with an agenda, creating materials, sending them into schools. It's being taught to kids as education, when in fact it's this charity with an agenda. And they're using the kids as a sort of free lobbying tool, getting them to write to politicians.
This book is a symptom of desperation because Things are changing. I speak to a lot of the younger generation, Gen Z, even Generation Alpha, and they're waking up now to the immigration crisis that we have.
Yeah.
And even some of my very liberal friends who are around my age, they were always like refugees, welcome, let them all in.
Yeah.
Now their kids are a little bit older and they're still living in their house and they can't, move on and get a house or a flat on their own. They're starting to go, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Maybe those other guys were right. Maybe we have let too many in. This is just a symptom of desperation because there's only so much you can actually BS somebody and say, this is good for you. When they look around and they think, actually, my life is pretty bad and I can't, move up on the property ladder. I can't even leave my parents' home. Everything's crowded. I can't get an appointment on the NHS. I can't even get a GP appointment. OK, let's, reset what's going on here. They're not stupid people. It will eventually click. So this book, I see it as a good thing. They're so desperate now.
They're so desperate that they're trying to indoctrinate kids.
It won't work.
I think obviously the book is inappropriate for children. I don't think you should be passing a message on that, having immigrants here is because for cheap labour.
Yeah.
Saying that you can have
it's the one truthful bit they had in the book.
It's not what you put out there to small children. So that's the message you're sending. I've stood by this. I don't believe in mass migration, but I do believe supporting women and children if they do come here from a place and need to be, taken care of and helped in some way.
Like Ukraine.
Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that's being left behind. Half of the boats that are coming in are full of young teenage boys with mobile phones. Where are the women and children?
It's mostly men.
That's who I'm supporting. If they can actually get those women and children on boats, then I'll be more supportive of them coming in.
I think those women are deserted.
They're not. They're being deserted. They're being captured. They're being raped and obviously killed. This is what's happening with the children and women left behind.
Yeah, and I think it would be a lot of PR for the pro-refugee movement if it was more young, attractive women coming instead of these men. Anyway, next on the Saturday Night Showdown, the Syrian army is being routed as regime change is happening in Syria right now, plus a 22-year-old who's delighted to be on the will of her 85-year-old boyfriend. See you in a moment.
I'm Christopher Hope. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now we're joined now by Sophia Viraji, the co-founder of the Azealia Foundation, which was created due to the tragic passing of her 8-month-old daughter to leukemia. The foundation is doing some incredible work for children's cancer.
Yeah, some really incredible stuff. They've just launched a PhD even where they're funding young doctors to specialise in childhood cancer as, get this, I wasn't aware of this, it's one of the most underfunded areas in the NHS. So not many sectors choose to go down that route, unfortunately. The charity, the foundation, have donated over £1 million worth of equipment to hospitals as well, and we're delighted to welcome Sophia. You've turned a tragedy and grief into triumph, I guess, and something so inspiring. Just tell us about that. Do you recognise that in yourself and the work you're doing?
Yeah, I'm here to always honour my daughter and to always continue her name, her legacy, and to support all of these other children fighting against childhood cancer.
It was all over social media. I mean, you were, at one point, probably one of the most famous families in this country because of Azealia and Azalia's fight. When you look back now at that time, does it give you comfort that you had so many people behind you?
Absolutely. The community that we have got, the humanity that we've seen in the UK and all around the world, in fact, has really touched my heart, and that kindness, love and support has always been the backbone of carrying me through this, to give me hope, to give me belief, and it still inspires me and encourages me till today to continue to do that, to show that light, to show that courage and bravery.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
From the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello. Now, literally as we've been on air, it looks as if the Syrian capital of Damascus has fallen to rebels and the Syrian president Bashar al-Assad has fled to Dubai. Syrian army units are reportedly fleeing, leaving behind equipment such as this Soviet tank you can see abandoned here, and swapping their uniforms for civilian clothes and melting back into the population. And here you can see Soviet jets belonging to the Syrian Air Force that have been abandoned. I mean, let's hope none of the rebels know how to fly a plane, or they could be causing some problems. And here's footage of the statue of Hafiz al-Assad, that's Bashar al-Assad's dad, that's toppled in a suburb of Damascus. So he was the previous ruler of Syria. And this also represents a military victory for Ukraine. Russia and Iran propped up Bashar al-Assad's Syrian government over the last decade, but with both Russia and Iran distracted with more urgent conflicts with Ukraine and Israel, they couldn't give Syria's ruler the support he needed to maintain power. Ukraine helped Russia's enemies in Syria, providing training, especially in drone technology warfare, to the Syrian rebels, who then wiped out hundreds, if not thousands, of Russian military personnel and Wagner mercenaries in Syria. We might see widespread persecution and genocide of Syria's Christian and Druze communities by Islamists, as we've seen across the rest of the Middle East, and we're likely to see a repeat of the Syrian migrant crisis of a decade ago, with already 1.5 million refugees looking likely to come to Europe. Now, this does feel like 2014 all over again, and you know, this is what spurred the huge refugee crisis in Europe before.
Oh, happy days. It's Groundhog Day. We're going to have more people coming in from another country, more people just running away. And you know what? No one's really going to care because it's, what is it, Druze and Christians. Well, they're not Palestinians, so who cares? You know, no one's really going to care in this country about them.
But I mean, the trouble is that they're coming from a region where ISIS are very active, and there are a lot of Islamists. So, you know, there could be people like that coming across.
I mean, my concern also is that the president, right, is actually left his own country and fled to Dubai.
They do that in that area. They run away. They run away a lot.
You know,
I've noticed
you're
that.
leaving your people. You're not there to support your people. You're just letting them get on with it.
But
That is a real concern.
But it's a great time of year to go to Dubai.
I agree. I mean, Dubai is a great place in December and January, but this is not the right thing for a leader. They
have terrible leaders.
Obviously. And how long has he been a president?
Bashar al-Assad, I think since 2000, I'm not totally sure. I know his father died in around about 2000. But I mean, this is a man who used chemical weapons against his own people. I mean, absolutely horrific war crimes. Chlorine gas, apparently. It's alleged by the UN, anyway. And so he's not going to be popular. When the Islamists catch him, they're not going to treat him with kids' gloves. These will be people who know people who've been tortured. They're actually releasing people from jail at the moment.
Wow.
They've filmed interviews with people released from jail who don't even who've been there since the 90s and don't even know things that have happened in the world.
Do we want this coming onto our shores? Do we want this?
No.
Well,
this is kind of culture.
They don't even have a leader of their country.
But they just keep deserting, that's why. The men just keep running away. I just keep seeing men in these parts of the world just running away every time, like, you know, what hits the fan.
Yeah.
It's pathetic. They're coming, they come straight to Europe.
In their country and stay in their country.
Stay, like Ukrainian men have stayed.
To get back the country that they obviously were fighting for.
Yes.
They've just fled.
Yes. Yeah.
And the leader is no good example if he's left his own country for his people to fend for themselves. It's awful.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you there. And, you know, we saw when Ukraine was invaded, everybody thought Zelensky was going to flee to the West.
Oh, really?
And, you know,
no, he's not from the Middle East.
But he
flee.
stayed. He stayed.
Middle
and he
East,
fought.
they flee.
Yeah, and
I love it.
You know, it reminds me of the fall of Afghanistan when Joe Biden was president, when Joe Biden took power, and there was that horrific collapse of order in Afghanistan, and the Afghanistan army didn't even try to stand and make a fight against the Taliban. Everybody just tried to get out, and there were people hanging off, jets taking off.
And you don't want that in your country. You don't want a bunch of cowards.
I'm so sorry for the children that are suffering. They're just, they're just trying to get through life on a daily basis, starving, being killed, tortured, captured. I mean, he just didn't think about the kids that he's leaving behind. He just thought about himself.
Bashar al-Assad. So his family have fled as well.
Oh, his family have fled. Okay.
I think one of his sons actually
his family have fled.
One stayed.
One of his sons stayed and actually sort of filmed a sort of a video from Damascus.
Look, I've stayed in my own country. Look at me, you know.
Although he's probably
wow.
Is that really
Is that literally the standard now we're trying to aim for?
That's the level.
Thanks to my brilliant panel tonight. We've had Precious, Muir and Kezia Noble, and we'll see you again next week. And don't forget Headliners as well tonight at 11 p.m. I'm on tonight. I'll see you then as well. Goodbye. Have a great weekend.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Dara